Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're basically tearing up the standard world map and looking at things from a totally different angle. We are talking about invisible borders. When we think about a country's wealth, its economy, or its footprint on the global stage, we almost always picture that classic map, right? The one with those thick black lines drawn around all the land masses. But here's the thing. The way a country actually tracks its wealth operates on a completely different, almost hidden set of rules. So, let's dive into this. I really want you to take a second and just imagine where the borders of your country truly stop. If you walk right up to the edge of the border and take one step over that line, you're out, right? Well, physically, sure, but economically? No way. It's nowhere near that simple. The true reach of a nation is way wider, much more fluid, and honestly, a whole lot more fascinating than just a line drawn in the sand. To really wrap our heads around this, we need to contrast two very different ideas. First up, we've got the map that we laymen use every single day: political frontiers. These are your physical borders, the checkpoints, the actual land masses we see on a standard globe. But contrast that with economic territory. This is the realm of national income accounting. It's the reality that economists use to calculate a country's actual income and wealth generation. And as you'll see in just a minute, this economic map literally bursts right through those physical political frontiers. Here's our quick roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start by looking beyond the political map, then we'll look up at ships and planes in the skies, dive down into wealth in international waters, explore foreign soil with embassies, and finally, wrap up with exactly why all of this economic territory actually matters. All right, Section 1, Beyond the Political Map. Let's establish the core rule of the game we're playing. This definition right here, this is absolutely crucial. It's our golden thread. In national income accounting, domestic territory, which, by the way, is used totally interchangeably with economic territory, well, it isn't just about the land. It's formally defined as the territory administered by the government within which persons, goods, and capital circulate freely. So it's all about the flow of value. Basically, where does a government have the administrative power to let capital and goods move around without restriction? Wherever that happens, no matter where it is physically located on the earth, that is their domestic territory. Moving right along to Section 2, Ships, Planes, and Skies. Let's look at our first mind-bending exception to physical borders by literally looking up. National income accounting actually adds 3 major exceptions to those standard political frontiers. And we're going to look at the very first one on our list right now: transport. Specifically, we're talking about ships and aircraft that are owned and operated by normal residents between 2 or more countries. Let's do a quick mystery quiz to make this super concrete. I want you to imagine an Air India plane. It's just taken off, and it is currently flying halfway across the world. Right now, it's cruising in the airspace directly between Russia and Japan, so it is literally thousands of miles away from the physical landmass of India. So, here is the million-dollar question for you. Whose domestic territory is that plane actually in at that exact moment? Is it Russia's, Japan's? Is it just nowhere? The answer is actually India, because that plane is owned and operated by the normal residents of India, in this case, Air India. The economic activity happening inside that metal tube is a part of the domestic territory of India. It completely doesn't matter whose airspace it's flying through. And the rule works the exact same way in reverse. If Singapore Airlines operates a flight traveling between India and Japan, even while it's just sitting on the tarmac in India, economically speaking, that plane is a part of the domestic territory of Singapore. It's wild, right? The economic border wraps right around the vehicle itself, based entirely on who operates it. All right, on to Section 3, Wealth in International Waters. Let's bring our gaze down from the sky and head out into the open ocean. Checking out the second exception on our list, we are looking at resources and operations in international waters. Now remember, these are parts of the ocean that belong to no single nation politically. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the crucial condition attached to this exception. We are talking about fishing vessels, oil and natural gas rigs, and floating platforms. But the absolute magic phrase you really need to remember here is exclusive rights of operation. If the residents of a country are operating these vessels or rigs out in international waters, and they have the exclusive right to do so, that little floating speck of metal and machinery literally becomes an extension of their home country. To put that into perspective, let's say Indian fishermen take their boats out into the deep, international waters of the Indian Ocean. These are waters way outside the political frontier of any country. But they haven't left India's economy behind. Those fishing boats pulling value from the sea are considered a part of the domestic territory of India for accounting purposes. The nation's economic footprint just floats and moves right along with them. This brings us to Section 4, Embassies and Military Bases. We're heading back to solid land, but this might just be the most surprising stop on our global scavenger hunt. We've covered the skies, we've covered the seas, now we arrive at the third and final major exception to our layman's map: diplomatic establishments abroad. We're talking about patches of land that sit squarely, physically inside another sovereign nation's political borders. Specifically, this category covers embassies, consulates, and military establishments that a country operates on foreign soil. When you think back to that rule about the free circulation of persons, goods, and capital, well, these locations are tightly administered by the home government, not the host country. And this statement right here brilliantly illustrates the whole concept. The Indian embassy in Russia is a part of the domestic territory of India. Just think about how crazy that is from a geographical perspective. You could be walking down a street in Moscow, totally surrounded by Russian political territory, but the very moment you step through the gates of the Indian embassy for the purpose of national income accounting, you have literally just stepped into India. The physical dirt belongs to Russia, for sure, but the economic reality, the domestic territory, is entirely Indian. Finally, Section 5, Why Economic Territory Matters. Let's bring this all together and answer the so what of it all. So the crucial point is this: national income accounting really isn't concerned with where things are physically bolted to the ground. It's concerned with who is generating the wealth and under whose administration that wealth flows. The golden rule here is that domestic territory follows the free circulation of persons, goods, and capital. Whether that's happening inside an embassy in Moscow, on an oil rig in the middle of the ocean, or on a commercial flight high above the clouds, physical borders are merely the starting point of a country's true economic footprint. Which leaves us with this pretty fascinating thought. As technology advances, as deep-sea exploration and maybe even low-Earth orbit commercialization become more common, this map is going to just keep changing. If a brand new commercial platform floats out into international waters tomorrow, pulling up new resources, whose economic territory will it actually become? Well, as we've learned today, it all depends on who has the exclusive right to operate it. Keep that in mind the next time you look at a globe. You're really only seeing half the story. Thanks for joining me on This Explainer, and keep questioning what you see.